Okay. You're not this bag of bones and water. You are a, the truth of you is you are a spiritual being, having a physical experience. So this is an experience to have, but it is not the truth of you. And so there are all sorts of ideas around why we're having this experience, what generates it. But I'll say this, whether it's good or bad or intended by God or source, you can find that out on your own. Just meditate, ask, pray. You get some clarity about what's going on here. But here's the thing, it's not the ultimate truth of who you are, but the ultimate truth of you is always available to you. It's available to you. And even while you're in this bag of bones and water, which is in truth just a limitation device. I mean, even your senses, right? Your five senses, they're actually limiters. They limit, your ears limit how much sound you can hear. Your eyes limit, the wavelengths of light you can actually perceive. We're limited in the body, and we're having this experience of lack and limitation. Why that's happening, again, I'm not going to get into all that, but I am going to say this thing that is meant for limitation, your body, can be used as a tool to bring you back to truth, which the truth about you and about me is that I'm unlimited, I'm invulnerable, cannot be harmed. The truth of me cannot be harmed. And the truth of you cannot be harmed either. The body will indeed pass on one day. It will eventually go because it is something created in time and space, and anything made in time and space will not last, right? How long that takes or what that process looks like, do you have to get sick or any of that stuff? That's actually all up for debate. You could say you have this body, and some of this is being proven through quantum physics right now, but you could say that you have this body because you believe you are one. Your belief is an organizing force. And because you believe you are this body, you organize the vibrational energy, the light, the sound, whatever you want to, however you want to see it, you organize it into this thing that seems to be solid. It's a solid package that you seem to be contained in. And that's okay to have that perspective or that perception of yourself, but just know, according to the Course of Miracles and many other teachings out there, you are much, much more than that. You are all that your source is. And there is a source of you that is beyond this physical world. You don't have to believe me. Again, just receive me, let it in, pray on it, meditate on it yourself, and you'll become aware of it at some point. There's something much greater than me that is generating me. It generates me by extending itself to be me. That's straight out of the Course. God created me, or the universe, source, the Holy One, the creative force created me by extending itself and then loving what it extended and having full attention on what it extended at all times. And I am the extension of that, and so are you. And so you can have an experience of being separate, autonomous being, but that will never be the ultimate truth of you, nor will it be the ultimate truth of me. It's important to know that to really understand what I'm going to talk about next. It'll just make a little bit more sense. While we seem to be separate, autonomous little bags of bones and water, we will experience ourselves as lacking, and we feel like we need to get from outside of us to bring into us what we need in order to be okay. We talked about this last week. Um, and so the Course says we're upside down and backwards in our thinking. We're upside down and backwards. Most things we believe are upside down and backwards. And what it's saying is that the truth of you is you come from all that is. And so all there really is to do with that is give it. And it's in the giving of it that you become aware of yourself as it and as having it and having access to it and being the source of it yourself by sourcing it from that which generated you. And in that process, all things are given. So it's through giving that we know we have. It's in giving that we know our being. When we are in the space of trying to get and grasping and trying to, um, bring into ourselves to make ourselves somehow whole and complete, we're upside down and backwards in our thinking, and we're convincing ourselves of something that just isn't true, but we will experience it as if it is. We will experience ourselves as lacking as long as we're trying to get. And so, in the dance of giving and receiving, the truth is we're always giving to ourselves, to an aspect of ourselves that seems to be over there, but really is just a reflection of what's in here. And we also give in the same way that source gave to us in order to generate our life, our reality, right? By extending itself to be us. So all giving is really a form of extending. And as you extend in truth, all you're really extending is love. And as you extend, you make more of what you're extending. There's never a lack by true giving, not even in the physical realm. Again, we talked about this last week. What you extend, you just create more of. And even if, you give something in the material realm, but you're giving it from your heart to truly give it, not as a way of trying to get something, that act of true giving, which is true loving, because all you're ever really extending is love, because all you really are is love. All there really is in the universe is what you could call love or light or truth or knowledge or peace or joy. They're all just sort of aspects or interpretations of the same thing. That is what created us in full joy, light, joy, and peace, happiness. It generated more of itself by extending itself to be us. And that is the same thing that we do when we give in truth. And so that which we give, even if we're giving it in some material form, if what's behind the giving is true giving or love, it has to multiply. It has to multiply. That is a rule of the universe. It is God's rule, God's laws, the universe's rule, and God's laws supersede the laws of physical reality. They're they're the overlord laws, right? And so if you live by those laws, your life becomes miraculous. And so, and all miracle really is something shows up in the world that doesn't seem to adhere to the laws of the world. We see that as a miracle. Somebody who was sick is suddenly cured. Somebody had a tumor, the tumor's suddenly gone. Where there was once hatred between two people, there's now love. Where there was once an empty bank account, it is now has money pouring into it, right? Um, we consider those to be miracles, right? It wasn't really possible for that to happen, but it happens. And that's because God's law supersedes all law. And God's ultimate law is that you're one with all things, you're one with all creation, you're one with your source. And by that oneness, it's all already yours. But at this level, there is a dance to be done. So at the highest level, if you look at the forces involved that are always intermingled and dancing together, you could call them positive and negative flow. Like electricity has a positive and has a negative. If you don't have the positive and negative, there's no flow of energy, right? If you try to bear with me here, but if you direct two magnets, positive sides of two magnets together, those magnets will repel. If you direct two negative ends towards each other, that will repel. Right? The same is true here at this level for human beings. We could call those forces masculine and feminine forces, and just know we all have masculine and feminine within in us. We're all both because all things are ultimately one. That dance is happening in us all the time. That energy is always flowing. Um, and so the way it's reflected here at this level is we have men and women, male bodies and female bodies, but still inside those bodies, even biologically, there's masculine and feminine, right? But there is a dance to be had at this level between what is masculine and what is feminine. And most men major in the masculine and minor in the feminine. Let's say the 80-20 rule, 80%. Um, it's really more of a continuum and gradations, but let's just say 80% major in the masculine, minor in the feminine, and 80% of women major in the feminine and minor in the masculine. And that's a perfect design. I won't get into all of what that looks like, but if you just think about it in the simplest form, you get that where there's masculine and feminine coming together, or men or women coming together that have those forces at work, there will be a dance, there'll be a flow of energy. And that flow of energy creates more energy. Remember, the universe never is depleted of energy, really, right? That's an illusion. Energy is always moving. It can change forms in the world of forms, but it's always moving. And as it moves, this is the idea of giving always creates more of itself. It's creating more. And so that can happen between two humans, right? This isn't about sexuality, being straight, being gay, heterosexual, homosexual, none of that. This rule still applies even in those situations. I don't want to get into that conversation. I'm happy with whatever anybody wants to do out there, right? Whatever, however they see themselves and experience the world. I don't think there are any accidents. We support all people. I'm just talking about from the perspective of energetic dynamics. And so I'm saying all this to get to a situation that's occurring on the planet right now. And I would say what's occurring on the planet right now, the force that's lacking is the feminine force. And this is tricky stuff to get, right? Because in order for the feminine to feel free, to be here, and to be expressing, it has to feel safe. In order for the feminine to feel safe, in order for there to be safety for the feminine, there has to be a strong masculine container, right? A strong masculine space for the feminine to show up. And again, I want to try to stay out of the politics too much or too much of the history, but when we do these pendulum swings in our culture and society, a lot of damage can be done. The pendulum swing usually starts because something was out of balance, right? There was too much of something or not enough of something, and a correction tries to occur. And in the beginning, that correction is appropriate, but often those corrections get co-opted, let's say, by powers that be, and become something they weren't intended to be. And then they become a major pendulum swing to the other side. And then it has to swing back. And every time it swings, it's doing damage, right? And so what we really want to do is find, I don't want to call it balance. We want to find a middle ground, because it's not really about balance. It's sort of still and nothing moving. There's a middle ground where a lot of energy is moving, but that middle ground requires two poles, two opposite poles, so the energy can flow. If you put a masculine and a masculine together, that repels. If you put a feminine and a feminine together, that repels, right? Or positive, positive, negative, negative, that can repel. But when you have that masculine and that feminine together, I'm talking about like an intimate relationship, energy flows. And so what happened over time with us, because a correction needed to be made around the feminine, the feminine, which is, expressed mostly through females or through the women on the planet. We know it's a very powerful force. The feminine is actually 100 times more powerful than the masculine as an energy, right? As a force. But we weren't, so they're not equal, by the way. These are not equal forces. Men and women are not equal. When I use the word equal, I mean the way the word really is intended is they're not the same. Equal means the same, right? They're not equal. They're not the same. They're very different, but they are equally important. They deserve equal respect and honor. And that's where we were off, because the world was in such a way that we were honoring the masculine contribution way more than the feminine contribution. And like I said, without both, we can't be here, right? And so a pendulum swing started to occur, and then it sort of got co-opted. And now what's happened is we flipped, and the masculine has become sort of this pariah. in a way, right? You hear terminology like, toxic masculinity. The problem with that term is that those two things start to be tied together, and then all masculinity is seen as toxic, and then all men are minimized, and this whole other thing has happened. So right now, the reason I'm telling this story is most men, young men especially, don't have a connection to their masculine force the way the men of my era did. I'm not saying I'm not a young guy, but I'm not a really young guy, right? I grew up in a different time. And so I understand my masculine force in a way that a lot of young men don't. And we've been sending messages that don't really work. And so if men become feminized, if many men become feminized, which really ultimately isn't possible, but they're sort of suppressing their masculine and becoming, let's say, soft in a way that wasn't intended, we're going to have problems. And there's not going to be any safe space for the true feminine to show up. Remember, what is going to truly heal us, heal our spirit, is the feminine within us all, and in our culture and our society. But even the way we're doing it now, women have been lifted, and that's a good thing, right? But a lot of it happened through women adopting a masculine way of being. So sort of like women are going to beat men at their own game, right? And I don't think there's no blame for this. Women are not to blame. Um, like I say, I think certain things were sort of foisted upon us, and we were taught in a way that is inaccurate. So yes, women need to rise, and women have risen in a lot of ways. But if you really want your women to rise, let them get fully in touch with their feminine force. It's okay to go out to work, to do the thing you got to do. And, in order to produce and be productive, that's a masculine force. The productivity is masculine, receptivity is feminine. We are all both. And so you can, flip back and forth. But for primarily most women, 80%, they're going to major in the feminine. If they're in the masculine more than they're in the masculine more than the feminine, excuse me, um, it's not going to be great for them. It's not going to feel good ultimately. And then if the men are more in their feminine, especially men who are majoring in the masculine, but they adopt a more feminine way of being and they're cutting out their masculine force, unbeknownst to us, we don't realize we're doing this. They're not going to be very happy either. And things are going to sort of get messed up in the world. So I believe we need to step more fully into our masculine as men, into the positive masculine power. I use the word positive because, again, people have a lot of negative connotations and concepts around, masculine energy or the masculine in general. And there is sort of a movement out there because once the pendulum swings so far the other way, and there's so much pain on the other side in men now, of course, things are going to spring up. People are going to step into that empty space and try to direct those men in a certain way. And I think there are a lot of powerful teachers out there right now, but there are also a lot of forces out there that are directing the masculine or men in a way that I don't think is beneficial to us. And so we do want men to step into their positive masculine power. The masculine force, your masculine force, men, your masculine force is good. It is God given. It is not toxic. It is not. Can men be toxic? Sure. Can women be toxic? Sure. I don't even like using that language. It's just not the ultimate truth. Can we all be harmful and do things that are harmful? Can we all be mean? Can we all be fearful? Can we all be greedy? Can we all attack and defend? Yes, all human beings have that capacity, especially if you see yourself as just this bag of bones and water, but you're so much more than that. A dance needs to be had. We need to heal and come back together in the positive masculine and the positive feminine. The receptivity of the feminine and the productivity of the masculine is meant to occur on an energetic level in order to transform the world. And so I'm saying to you, men, step fully into your masculine, learn and understand what it is. It is a powerful force, it is focused, energy, that's the masculine. It's attentive, right? That's the masculine. And through that focused attention, you can cause a lot of things to happen in your world. So I'm saying yes to the focused attention, yes to the masculine force. The masculine is also the calm in the storm, right? It's that steel pole in the middle of the ocean when all the waves are crashing in, right? You could say sometimes the feminine are the waves, right? The feminine is the waves. Someone has to hold the ground, right? The masculine is the clarifier, the great clarifier. The feminine is all possibility, right? Those two are meant to work together. And so in men and women, that's meant to work together. If you come together as a man with a woman in your life, you'll feel deeply into that woman as the penetrator, because that's masculine. You're going to penetrate her with your focused attention. You're going to start to get clear about what the feminine is channeling in. Remember, the feminine is the direct line to source. The feminine is the receptive energy. So if you want to receive source relative to God, you could say we are all in the feminine, right? Source is producing into us. If you want to receive that, you got to step into your feminine. If you have a strong feminine woman in your life, a lot is going to come through her. Your job is to receive it and clarify it for the both of you, and then step out front and take the necessary action to produce, right? So on that level, on the physical level, you're the masculine is the overt leader, right? And the feminine is the follow. But on the inner level, in the covert side of things, the hidden side of things, the feminine is in the lead and the masculine is in the follow. But in the earth plane, somebody has to take the lead. And typically that's the masculine. That's why when you go to dance lessons, usually the man's the lead and the woman is the follow. That makes for a great dance, but only if the masculine lead, the man, is feeling so deeply into the woman that he's taking on the dance with him to know where on the dance floor would feel good for her to go. But if you, as the masculine, are out there just showing off, wanting to be the lead and show all your great moves, that woman you're with is not going to have a lot of fun, right? She's going to be getting thrown around all over the place. We have to consider each other. That's the idea. We have to consider each other. We have to deeply respect and honor each other. But we have to honor these forces that are not an accident. And I'm saying to you, the masculine is good. It's not toxic. The feminine is good. It's not toxic either. A true masculine can never be toxic. A true feminine can never be toxic. What we're calling toxic masculinity is actually the lack of real masculinity. And then something else is stepping in to take the place of it that isn't good, right? And so true masculine is good. It's necessary. I say yes to it. I'm asking you guys to say yes to it. If you have any questions about that, you can drop them right here. Let me see if anybody's. Hey, there's the loneliness coach. 100. Right. Macy. So my invitation to you is as a man, step fully into your masculine. If you don't know what that means, you can jump into some of my work. We'll talk more about it. I am doing an event soon at the end of the month in November 29th in Newtown, Pennsylvania. It's with the Purpose Powered Man Project, which is my organization, the Purpose Powered Man Project. The number one thing men need is purpose. And the other thing we need is connection or communion or community with other men, right? Connection, community. And that is the thing that we've lost over time. Once we get that back, we will step back into our positive masculine force and the world will change. We'll create more safety, not less, right? Okay. So if you want to learn more about that, you can just drop it in the message and we will have it at some point at the bottom here for you to click on and check out tickets for that event on the 29th in November. The Purpose Effect is the name of the event with the Purpose Powered Man Project. Okay. Love you all. Stay in the positive masculine force, you guys. And ladies, invite it in. Invite it in. If you just step back, just step back a little bit into your feminine, to your fully, deeply receptive place, you're going to literally call the masculine forward in your man. I know this is where it gets tricky And some women think they have to step into the masculine and make their man be masculine. That doesn't work, right? You have to sort of trust, even when he's not doing it perfectly, give him lots of room, step into your receptive feminine, and the masculine will naturally come out in him. That's how this works. Okay, I love you all. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your evening.